Hey, so today I am going to do a Baddie Glam makeup tutorial. What is Baddie Glam? This is Baddie Glam. And for the first time ever, I'm doing a story time. She served me a plate of monkey, and I ate that monkey. I did. Come for the makeup, stay for the story, let's go. The reason that I have so many makeup and hair hacks is because I spent 15 years as a reporter, and almost all of that time I spent on the road. So let's do makeup story time of the most insane misadventure I ever had. I was on a reporting trip in Democratic Republic of Congo, and I was reporting on bushmeat orphans. There are animals that are hunted for food, they're bushmeat, and then the babies, they are orphaned. And in many cases, these are protected animals like apes. I was staying in the capital, and we had a day trip planned. I had to hire a team. I had a guide, I had to rent a car with a driver. Then there was security, which was like an off-duty soldier as best I could tell. And then there was the guy who had the hookup with the village we were going to shoot at. I'm with 4 guys. So the plan was to drive into the bush, shoot for a few hours, and then drive back to the capital. When we started on our way, it started raining. And as soon as you got out of the capital, it's like incredibly rural and remote. So when it started raining, the roads got washed out and we got stuck. And when I say we were stuck, I'm talking about stuck. It took like 2 hours probably for them to get us out, like rocking and digging, and you can't call AAA. You can't even call the police and say, come get me. Like, we were in the bush. Like, this is legit the place where like wildlife documentaries are filmed. A little ways down the road, there's a little side of the road, like shop selling, you know, little food and snacks and stuff. And one of the things they were selling was whiskey in pouches. And my security for the trip, who was a soldier, thought it would be a really good idea to get wasted on this road trip. So he starts drinking these pouches. They're like this big. They look like an IV bag, actually. He starts drinking these pouches of whiskey and then decides he's gonna target shoot out the window because we're in the middle of nowhere. Why not? So he is with a rifle just shooting out the window. And of course I'm terrified because there's a drunk guy with a firearm in the front seat. So I ask my fixer, the fixer is the person that organizes everything. I'm like, yo, can you please get him to stop shooting out of the window? Like, it was so nerve-wracking. And we kept getting stuck. It would take about, on average, it would take 2 hours to get out every time we got stuck. Not an exaggeration, 2, 3, 4 hours to get out every single time we got stuck. We would drive a little bit, we would get stuck, it would take 2, 3, 4 hours to get out, we would continue on, we'd get stuck again. Super agitated, scared. It's now nighttime. The light of the moon is lighting up this like wide open plain. We're out there in the middle of nowhere. I literally would not have been surprised if I saw a lion. I'm begging my fixer, like, can you please stop this guy from firing out the window? It's like, my nerves are so bad. So he asked the guy to give him his rifle, and the guy says no, he absolutely refuses to give up his rifle. And he's like stumbling drunk at this point. And so I say, well, can I just hold your bullets, please? And he agreed to that. That seemed more reasonable to him. And I remember when he turned around to give me the bullets, because I was in the backseat, he turns around with the whole shotgun, and I'm like, ah! So he gives me the bullets. I actually still have them to this day. And we keep on our way. I'm gonna take a pause from the story to talk through this. The thing with a winged eye, especially if you have hooded eyes, you have to draw the wing on a part of your eye that is flat. So if you're doing it like inside where there's a crease, you're not gonna get that straight, sharp line. It is okay to go outside your natural eye and to create a new corner of your eye. And here's the second thing is really important. You have to do it with your eye open. When you close your eye and try it, that's when you get those wonky lines and you're like, what's wrong with it? That's why. Outer one, and then with my eye open, I'm going to create a triangle. Okay, once you've kind of mapped it out, then you can close your eye. And do you see what's happened here? It's not anywhere close to what you imagine it should look like. It's like the slanted part and then this like flat part to connect. Okay. I'm gonna fill it in. Okay, don't need to be super precise because I'm gonna go over it with powder. You see that? Okay. All right, back to our previously scheduled programming. Where were we? Okay, so it becomes clear that this is a disaster and that we have to figure out a plan B. So one of the times that we're stuck this big transport truck. It was full of people that were going from the bush to the Capitol. So they were going the opposite direction of us. But it was like a pickup truck, and all these people were in the back. And because they passed us and they saw that we were stuck, they stopped and they got out to help us. They asked where we were going, blah, 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 and I remember this guy says, oh, you should go to this village named Bandundu. You should go to Bandundu because there's a UN flight from Bandundu back to the capital every day. So Bandundu's not very far away. You go to Bandundu and you can catch a flight back. There's a flight once a day. Now, I asked this man who was telling us this information, this stranger on the road, I said, are you sure a flight leaves every day? And he got an attitude with me. I will never forget this. And he said, because we were speaking in French, and he said, chaque jour, which means every day. So I said, are you sure that the flight leaves every day? And he goes, chaque jour, like I said every day. I'm like, okay, my bad, I'm just checking. You know, we've had a rough trip. So we reroute to Bandundu. And the plan is we'll drive to Bandundu and we will catch a flight back to the capital. So on the way to Bandundu, we stop at a village for the night. And this is a village, okay? We get there and it's night, and it is not that moonlit night from a couple nights ago. Now it is like pitch black. And we get there and they were very hospitable, incredibly, incredibly hospitable. And they invite us to come sit with them by the fire. So there's this big fire and the whole village is sitting on the ground around the fire. And there are these kids that are sitting next to me, and these kids, they start whispering to each other like, and pointing at something in the dark. Remember, it's pitch dark. And then they get up and they grab a stick from the fire. And so they have like a flame, and they walk about maybe 5 feet away from where I'm sitting, and they put the stick to the ground and they light a scorpion on fire. And when they lit it on fire, it was like a light, and it starts like thrashing, and the scorpion was huge, okay? It was like this big, and it was like 5 feet away from me. First thing I'm thinking is, how did these kids know, right? I guess when you grow up in that environment, you be knowing, because it was pitch dark. And the second thing I think, I'm like, I have to get out of here. So I said, okay, well, I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna go to bed for the night. And again, our hosts in the village were incredibly hospitable. And so they said to me, well, since you're the only woman, we have a special hut for you. They lead me to the hut. We walk into the hut. It's pitch dark. I cannot see a thing. And as soon as we walk into the hut, my foot kicks something. And the thing that I kick goes, there was a chicken in there. And I thought to myself, what else is in here that I can't see? Because I couldn't see the chicken. I knew that it was incredibly rude. I had no choice. I told them I can't sleep here. I'm really sorry, I can't sleep here. I'm gonna sleep in the car. Go spend the night in the car. In the morning, we leave, we head out to Bandundu. This was actually a really, really beautiful morning. We're literally on the banks of the Congo River. The car has to drop us off at the banks of the river so we can take a boat across to the other side. Bandundu's on the other side. And it was just still, and the fishermen were coming out. So that was a really peaceful, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna cross the river, we'll get to Bandundu, I'll get on a flight, I'll be back in the capital today, we'll just put this whole nightmare behind us. All right. Cross the river, get to Bandundu, go to the UN office. It's called MONUC because it's in French. We go to MONUC. It was a Wednesday. Next flight out is Saturday. Next flight out is Saturday. And all I could think of was that jackass looking at me with attitude singing, "Chaque jour, chaque jour." We find a hotel. Now Bandundu's a little bit more developed because UN has a base there. Now remember, this is a soft glam look, so I'm not gonna do like a lot of contouring. I'm not doing any of that. So we get to the hotel. There's one hotel in town. And I remember these, oh no. I remember when we were going to the hotel, there was a tree. The tree was so tall, I'm not even exaggerating, it was like 4 stories tall. And I remember there were kids climbing it. The kids might have been 7 or 8. They were literally about 4 stories up. I'm not even exaggerating because I live in a 4-story house, so I know what that height looks like. They were so high up climbing the tree to get that fruit, and I was petrified because if they fell, they would absolutely die. So I remember saying that on the way to the hotel. Okay, so we get to the hotel. When we checked into the hotel, they gave me a bucket. Why did they give me a bucket? That was for my shower. There's a bucket full of water that you take to the room with you. And there's a bathtub, but there's no plumbing in the room. So you could use the bucket to bathe yourself. And so I did. And I remember watching the water wash off me black because I had been in a car for, at that point, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. Since we're stuck in Bandundu for a few days, I'm trying to rescue this story. We start walking around town looking for people who eat bushmeat that I can interview. And there's this lady who is cooking, and she's cooking on her porch. So she has like a stove on the porch and a pot on the stove, and a big pot, and it's boiling. And I asked her, do you know anyone who eats bushmeat? And this lady takes the lid off the pot, and inside, like this, like a horror movie sticking out of the pot, is a hand. Now it was the hand of a monkey, but you know, those are our cousins. So it looked like a human hand because it was cooked. So it was like cooked down to bone. It was like a horror movie. It's sticking out of the pot like this with all this smoke coming out. The hospitality though was top tier. So this woman invites us to dinner, and I wanted to shoot the dinner, so I accepted the invitation. She insists that we stay to eat dinner, and she served me a plate of monkey, and I ate that monkey. I did. I just didn't want to be a jerk, so I ate the monkey. It was more disgusting than you can possibly imagine. It was, you know how some meat is gamey? This was gamey on 100. We spent a couple days in Bandundu. I did shoot there. I was able to shoot. The whole village came out. It was really very, very cool. I asked, like, do you ever feel bad for the orphans? Which to me, culturally, like, you know, we are very used to kind of animal rights, and the entire village started laughing at my question. It was like I told a joke. And they said, God gave us the animals to do what we want to with them. Finish off with this blush powder. We're in a heavy blush moment. This is not a very like shimmery look. This is a very pinkish. So I'm not gonna do a ton of that, but I am gonna look. If I'm not gonna contour, I am gonna do a little nose highlight. Little dot, and then a little bit on the bridge, and that's it. Spent a couple days in Bandundu. Saturday came. We were first in line at the Manuk office. You better believe I was not about to be there until the following Wednesday. Got our tickets, got on that flight, went back to the capital. I did get what I needed for the story. The story was great. I loved working on that story. And that is my adventure. All right, so before we wrap things up, let's do really quick mascara. Oh no, I can't talk. I have to focus. And let's do a little Baddie Glam lip. I have naturally full lips, so I don't really overline. This is Juvia's Place Libra, which also happens to be my zodiac sign. Put that gloss on, and there we go. Is she a baddie? That was actually my first story time ever, so let me know if you like the story time. If you want to hear more stories, I got stories for days. All product info is below. Please, please, please like this video, subscribe, share it with somebody that you think might like it, and let me know what you think in the comments.